gonna die.
Welcome to Transparent with Tina. I'm Tina Marx, your host. Today we have a very special guest because she's one of my best friends, Michelle Clark. She is a financial coach, and we're just gonna get right into it. Now, Michelle, when I first met you, you were in a different business. So why don't you tell us what you were in and how you got into financial coaching?
First of all, I'm really excited to be here. So thank you for inviting me. And I think that my whole life sort of led to this point because I've made a ton of financial mistakes in my life. And throughout my career path, I spent 20 plus years in the employee benefits industry, helping companies develop their benefits initiatives for their employees and their programs. And in the most recent, I'd say 10 years, I really was focusing mostly on helping companies develop out their corporate wellness initiatives. And so from a wellness perspective, we think about wellness in terms of our physical health, but there's much more to it. There's mental well-being and our social engagements that we have with other people in our relationships. There's an environmental factor, how are we supporting our environment that we live in? And also financial wellness was a big piece of that. And the reason why it's such a critical component of overall well-being is because finances impact our whole lives. And so it really sort of drew me in because of the fact that I had made all these financial mistakes in my life. At one point in time, I was $200,000 in debt, over $200,000 in debt, because I made really bad financial decisions.
Was a lot of that like the 200,000? Was that like credit card debt, or was it?
It was everything. It was everything you could imagine. So what had happened was I got into real estate investing, of all things, right before the financial crisis hit. Great timing. Mm-hmm. And so what I had done is I figured, you know what, this is a great business to be in. I'm going to put everything I've got into it. So I racked up my credit cards trying to launch the business. I ended up quitting my job long before I should have. And then I lived on my credit cards for a period of time. Also, because I was not working, I didn't have real medical insurance. And I ended up in the hospital in the emergency room because of a medical condition that suddenly decided to strike at that moment. And then also too, I ended up doing a short sale on my house because I had bought a house about a year prior to that. And obviously we all know what happened in the real estate business. So there were a lot of factors that came into play, but really what it was is that I was chasing something financially that I really wasn't prepared for. I ended up claiming bankruptcy, but I also had spent almost $35,000 I got a student loan to attend this real estate investing school. Mm-hmm. And I still had to pay that off even after claiming bankruptcy. So I had to figure out, how do I even get out of all of this debt? And I had to find a new job and start getting paid again and doing all the things that are necessary. So, that coming from that place in my life, and then having to figure out how do I get out of debt on at that time, very low income compared to what I had been making before, it was a big lesson that I had to learn. And so I kind of try to put myself in the place of where others are when I am looking at helping coach them through getting out of debt and getting their head on straight with, how they're going to manage their money. So there's a lot that has sort of led me to this place. I was spending money, every cent that came in, because I was like, well, I'm not going to live past the age of 45.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, it was one of those okay, well, you only live once. So let me spend everything that I earn because I'm not going to be around long enough. And that was a real big awakening.
There are some of us that are savers, and then there are people that are spenders. But there's
I see you raising your hand.
I'm being transparent here. I'm not the saver, but I am going to be working with you. And you guys, I called you last week. I said I do need your help because most people, they say, are one paycheck away of being homeless. And so we do need your help. We definitely need your help. So did you have to go to any kind of school for this to become a financial coach?
Well, I went to the School of Hard Knocks. That was for sure. So I learned my lessons in that way, and I was able to dig myself out of that. It grew to almost $38,000 of debt, and I paid that off in roughly 32 months on a $40,000 a year salary.
How
So
did
that
you
was
do
like
that? How
a
did you do
huge
that?
thing. A couple of ways, I had to cut back on costs, obviously, but
Yes.
you know, I was at the point where I had to do anything and everything. I also got a roommate and I, split my housing costs and I put every extra cent that I had into paying off that debt. And there were some tricks and tips, that I used to be able to pay down my student loan even faster than I otherwise would have. And that's one of the things that I help my clients through if they do have student loan debt, to help figure out like what's the fastest way that you can do this.
Mhm.
But there are only two levers that we can really pull when we're in that situation. You either have to make more money or you have to cut down on costs. And I had to figure out how to do both. The School of Hard Knocks, definitely. And then I also became a certified financial coach because I went through a couple of certification programs to really learn like, what does it take to help somebody walk through this journey? The mechanics of money management is one thing. It's really easy. You can Google all day long, how do I create a budget and how do I set up, an expense tracking sheet and all that. The mechanics of money management is very easy. It's figuring out why you make the money decisions that you do, and then doing something to make better, different ones going forward. That's the hard part for most people. So, that's really where I had to learn, how do I guide somebody through that process? And that's where the certifications really came into play.
And I can identify it because that's what it is with us. We call it the whys. Why do you want to make this amount of money?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
not enough to just say, I want to make $500,000 this year. It's gotta
Exactly.
be, why do you want to? And then the specific goals, and then basically like reverse engineer this, right? And getting to their emotional, because everything, our behavior is led by our emotions.
Absolutely.
And
It
then they have
absolutely is.
maybe a money blocks or this or that. So tell us what's the difference between a financial coach and a
Mhm.
financial advisor?
So I like to say that I prepare people to better work with a financial advisor, because working with a financial planners are typically helping you set up goals. They're asking you, okay, by what age do you want to retire? What kind of income do you want to have coming in while you're in retirement? And that's all great, but they leave it up to you to actually put that in motion and come up with the money.
Mhm.
They can help you in figuring out what you need to do and by when you need to do it, but it's the how that's the
Yes.
real hard part, right? So, what I do as a financial coach and better preparing people to financially be able to invest with a financial planner and effectively work with them is I help them, again, figure out, why do you make the money decisions that you do? Then we work on creating those healthier financial habits so that you can open up more funds from whatever income stream you happen to have, so that you can meet all of those financial goals. So we each have a place and a part to play in a person's financial life, but it's really hard to jump into working with a financial planner if you don't even understand why you're spending more than you should be spending. So, because there's a difference between
Right.
saving your money and investing your money. And that's a big hurdle for
That's
some to
so
overcome.
true, because if you're a saver and you don't know where to be saving it to
Mhm.
make the most money, then that's dangerous and
Yeah.
detrimental too. So I mean, this makes perfect
Yes.
sense. So, what are some of the common issues that people have with money?
Yeah. So a couple of things. First and foremost, the way we grew up with money forms how we handle money as adults. Did you grow up with a lot of money? Was that something that you always had in your life? And therefore, you kind of carry some of that association of money that maybe a person who grew up in maybe a poorer environment doesn't have. So, how we decide to use money as adults is formed by the time we're even the age of 5,
Mhm.
which is crazy to think about. Some of the common issues, they're what are called financial disorders, which are true like issues that
Oh
people
yeah.
have. It can be as strong as having a gambling addiction, But it can also come from a feeling of scarcity. So let's say, for example, we always hear about the people who become famous all of a sudden and come into a windfall of money, or they inherit it, or they're lottery winners, right? Those kinds of people, what happens when they have a scarcity mentality is that their brain, their caveman brain, is kind of kicking in and saying, ooh, you know what? I'm not used to having money. If they didn't grow up with money, if they're not used to having it, and then all of a sudden it comes to them, they have to get rid of it as soon as possible because it's not comfortable to them to have money.
Right.
So that's when they end up losing everything that they had, and they're broke again a few years later, or they put their trust in somebody that doesn't do right with their money. So that's one common issue that I see a lot, is that money is just very uncomfortable for people to have.
Because they're not used to that. So anything that we're not used to makes us uncomfortable, but also they maybe don't feel deserving of it. I just heard today that, along the same lines, that grow up broke, you're going to probably end up being broke. And this is exactly what you're saying.
Yes, unless you work on yourself and really uncover that deep-seated feeling and belief system. And that's, again, where a financial coach really plays a very different part than a financial advisor does, because a financial advisor is not going to get into a lot of that. They're not getting into the emotional components of it.
No, absolutely not.
Yeah. And also too, there's this feeling of villainizing the rich. People want to be rich. They want to have plenty of money, whether it's because they want to live the great lifestyle, or they want to give back in other, more meaningful ways. But yet they also have this belief that, well, money makes people greedy, and money makes people act in ways that are not congruent with my belief system. So, that's another issue that they carry around.
Money is the root of all evil. It's in the Bible.
Well, it's the love of money is the root of all evil.
Putting that about God.
Exactly.
A lot of people have taken that and misinterpreted that, right?
Yes, absolutely. And they believe that to be the case. Or they live in denial. And this is what happens with a lot of women who grow up with their fathers or somebody else handling the money in the family, where they sit there and go, you know what? I don't even want to deal with this. So therefore, I'm going to ignore it.
My mom didn't know. I mean, it was hard for her too when they got the divorce, because she was like a child. But wow, this is making so much sense.
Yeah.
When should people start looking at this?
As soon as possible. Whether you're, young and you feel like you do have forever to get to the point. See, let me back up here for a second, because retirement shouldn't be your only goal in life. It's how do you want to live your life on a day in and day out basis? Yes, I'm saving for my future retirement, but I'm also wanting to live the kind of life that I want to live now. So what does that take for me what do I have to earn? What do I have to save? How do I stay out of debt so that I can make my money work for me instead of me always working for the money and always playing catch up? And I think that's the reason why so many people are living in debt, is because they are wanting to fund a lifestyle that they truly cannot afford.
Right.
And they want to look like they are more successful than they actually are. But on the inside, they're stressed out, they're worried, they are anxious, they are having fights with their spouse over money constantly. They're raising their kids with this idea that money just grows on trees, that they can spend whatever they want. So the earlier you get a handle on why you make financial decisions, the more apt you are to be able to go, now I know why I'm deciding to do this.
Every time it shows up, and let's say you're triggered into that area again, that feeling shows up. Once you're aware of it, now you have the ability to change it. But if you never knew and you're just going in circles, I mean, that's like life.
It is
in a nutshell right there. I mean, that's how I work with my clients. It's all up here. This is all of our.
It absolutely is. Money is the fuel for our entire life. I mean, it really is. It helps us do all the great things that we want to do in life. but it also can be a place of anxiety and stress. And so until and unless we work on that relationship that we have with our money, we're always going to struggle with it in one way, shape, or form.
Oh, absolutely. I remember when I used to think, oh, if I make this much, I will be set. Yeah. Now I go, how does anybody live on that? It's true. And
it's so true.
No, and now I've lived everything you mentioned. I lived it. I had to have this. And when I look back, it was exactly what you said. It was an insecurity within myself that I felt like I was not good enough just being me. So what is one of the most common mistakes that somebody makes?
It's not being intentional with your money. Having a plan for what you want your money to do is the single most important factor. You just have to have some intention behind it. And an intention can come from if you're going into Target, let's just say, I mean, people talk about the Target effect all the time, right? You go into Target thinking, oh, I'm just going to pick up a couple of things. And you walk out $200 later, having just picked up this and picked up that. And it was mindless spending. If you want to save up to go on a vacation so that you don't come home in debt from it, then you have to intentionally set aside a little bit of money every time you get paid in order to get there.
Every time, we feel like we're just on the hamster wheel, like we're not getting ahead, that's where our self-doubt comes in. That's where we start to give up. That's where, we lose momentum. And it's just like any goal. The reality is if you have a clear goal and timeline for that goal, you're much more likely to hit it than, like I say to my clients when they give me their whys, well, I want to take more vacations. I want to go to Hawaii in September of 2021. It has to be clear like that. And so that gives you all those times that you're bypassing, let's say, buying that extra pair of earrings or this, or as Tom Ferry, my boss, says, that's stop spending money on stupid shit.
Exactly.
And I used to go, it's only $100. It's only $80. And I'm going, you add that all up, that we don't do that. And then we wonder why we're in the same boat. So the more that you're intentional, from what I'm understanding, and you're on this goal, then you're going to feel better about yourself. The better you feel about yourself, the more you're going to continue going in that direction, the more your life's going to open up.
People don't associate happiness with saving, but once you start actually doing it and start seeing the money grow in your account, it makes it very pleasurable to check in on your online bank account and go, wow, I can't believe how far I've come and how much I've saved. And the peace of mind that comes from that is incredible.
It makes you feel good because you see that it alleviates stress. And that's the whole point, is to not be stressed out. Right?
Exactly. Yes.
You feel like you're getting somewhere.
Well, and financial stress shows up in a lot of physical ways. The whole thing about money, it really truly impacts every facet of our well-being, and people just don't tap into that.
No.
That it's the financial stress that's causing all these problems.
Let me ask you, so how does somebody start with you? I mean, and how long do they work with you? Is there a set amount of time? Is it ongoing? How long does it usually take you to whip somebody into shape?
The process really is figuring out, okay, from a true monetary perspective, what do you have coming in? What do you have going out? What makes you spend? What makes you save? How do you want to feel about your money? How do you feel about your money right now? And then we can create a plan for moving through all of those components of setting up a budget, tracking expenses, figuring out what are maybe some of the holes in your financial life that you need to put together, such as if you have a kid, do you even have a will in place? If not, that's a piece of the financial puzzle that you need to have. If you are working and you don't have disability coverage, then that might be an important component. Life insurance. There are so many pieces. Are you protecting your credit? Are you protecting the credit of your child? So there's a lot that goes into uncovering this. And one of the things that I created is what I call a fiscal checkup. to really take a dive into. It's like getting an annual physical for your body. The doctor goes through and does all these tests and, checks you out and makes sure that they're covering all the bases of your physical health.
Mm-hmm.
This fiscal checkup is really covering all the bases of your financial health to say, where are the holes? What needs to be worked on? What's critical? And then what's the secondary assessment that we need to do?
Is there anybody that you would not recommend financial coaching? I mean, have you ever run across anybody that you've met that you just went, I don't know, I can't do anything with this person. I mean, they don't make enough money to save anything. They can't cut down anymore, or they're what we call, as you know, in the business, uncoachable. Outside of them being uncoachable, just under circumstances. They get paid certain amount of money. They're really not skilled to do anything else. Do you ever run across somebody like that?
I think there are two spectrums to that. So there's a spectrum of, yes, somebody could be living on the poverty line, just simply not making enough to get by. The only lever that they have to pull in that aspect is to make more money. So they either have to get a second job or they have to get a different job. They have to get more education. There are different things that go into that. But that's really where some of the free financial counselor sorts of people come into play, where they can tap into some of these government run programs and really help guide somebody toward those. That's not really my forte. If somebody's in that type of situation, I would definitely send them to more of a government run financial counseling program.
And this is what you find out when you have your clarity call, the first
exactly.
You don't take on everybody. I mean, if you honestly feel, hey, I can't do anything for you, right? And you then
And on the other spectrum, there could be somebody that, they've got it all together. They're making a great income. They're a saver by nature. So they've got, a lot of money in the bank. They're investing. They've got all of the protections in place that they need to have in place. They're ready to work with a financial advisor. They don't need me. They need to work with somebody who can help them grow their income in that sense.
Exactly. And for those of you that think maybe, oh, I don't want to spend the money on a coach, me being a coach myself, everybody, it's never about the money. It's about the value that you deliver. Okay.
It is.
If you are willing to step up to the plate to do the work. And, a lot of people don't want to do the work. All these years of spinning your wheels and it not working out, and all the stress that financially, physically, emotionally, rather than just sticking to something, because we all know in the beginning it's uncomfortable, but the more you do something, the easier it gets. So once these tools that you put in place for these people, I mean, your whole life just opens up for you to be able to concentrate on other things, your family and this and that, because when you're stressed, you're television. You're not open to opportunities around you.
You're not thinking clearly.
Yeah, exactly. Well, listen, how do people get, now, do you do this on the phone? Do you do it through video conferencing? Do you do it in person? Not in person, obviously now. Can anybody, can you coach anybody from any part of the country?
Yes, I do all of my coaching via Zoom video calls or phone calls. If somebody just is like, I don't want to be on any camera, but most people are comfortable with that. I record all my sessions to be able to give back to them and let them see those sessions so that they can refer back to them. Anybody who wants to work with me that can speak my language, I can speak their language. So when it comes down to getting started and working with me, really it's just reaching out and scheduling that first call, that clarity call. But also too, I created a couple of opportunities for people to get resources from me before even interacting with me. And one of them is a money personality quiz. So when you're really trying to figure out, like, am I a spender? Am I a saver? Am I somebody that gives all my money away? But that's the first step, is helping somebody uncover what kind of person, because I love personality quizzes. So of course I had to create one. But what drives my financial decisions? And then it kind of helps you figure out, okay, now that I know that personality trait, what do I have to do next to get started? So.
And the first clarity call, is that complimentary? Do you charge for that? And how long is that?
It's usually about 20 minutes or so.
Okay.
Because it's really just some very direct questions that I'm asking somebody to uncover what is their current situation, what do they want help with, and then also, are they willing to get the help?
Right.
Because it's one thing to know you got a problem, it's another thing to do something about it. And a lot of people would rather live in this place of denial or this place of being comfortable right now, even though they're in a bad financial situation. So it's really helping them figure out, are you ready for coaching? Are you ready to take that next step?
I think the question is, because I've experienced this a lot in my coaching career, is don't just think because you're going to write Michelle a check that your financial situation is going to magically like get better. You have to do the work.
Yes.
Okay. There is just no way around it. She's there to help guide you and direct you and give you the tools, but ultimately it's up to you.
So this is an analogy I give a lot, and I think that it paints a good picture for people is, everybody's heard of people climbing Mount Everest, right?
Mm-hmm.
They never climb Mount Everest by themselves, otherwise they die. So what they do is they hire what are called Sherpas, and these Sherpas are people that actually live in that vicinity, that do this climb day in and day out. These Sherpas know that mountain like the back of their hand. So people hire them to help guide them up the mountain. But guess what the Sherpa can't do? The Sherpa can't carry them on their back.
Yeah.
So the person still has to train to get to that point, to be mentally and physically prepared to be there. But they're the ones who actually have to make the climb. The Sherpa is there just to simply provide them the guidance and help them stay out of trouble as much as possible.
Anyway, what's the best way to get in touch with you?
The fastest way is just to go to shakeyourmoneytree.com. That's my website. And right at the top of the page, you'll see the link to take the money personality quiz if you want to hop on there. There are also some opportunities to book the clarity call. If you want to do that as your first step, you can also book a 1-hour coaching session just to get a taste of my process.
So you can just buy one. You
can. If you're just wanting to get an answer to something that can be answered in an hour, absolutely.
Okay.
Now, if you want to really get a handle on your financial situation, that's going to take a little bit more time. And so I do offer, more of a long-term coaching process for that. But typically I'd say the max of working with somebody is 7 weeks.
Okay.
So, in that period of time, we're going to make some huge strides. Yeah.
Awesome. That's great. All right. Well, thank you so much for being on the show. When are you and I starting? Next week?
Yeah.
Actually, this weekend.
Is it this weekend? What day is it?
I'm seeing you this weekend.
I think all the days are like floating into each other right now.
Start this weekend. Okay?
Yeah. Okay. Sounds
all right.
good.
Thanks for joining us, and we will see you next time. Please, if you haven't already, go to my YouTube channel, which is Tina Marx TV, or you can also go to my website, which is transparentwithtina.com. I also have a podcast, Transparent with Tina, and it's on iTunes. So you can get me all 3 places.
Yeah.
Anyways, yay. So we'll see you next week.
Flickering in the dark.